Bruchim Habayim. Welcome everyone to another session of our weekly class. For all those in Hollywood, thank you for joining again. Everyone in iTorah, in the community, we're happy to have you on board, and please, we hope to hear you again and see from you again. Now, what is a week like this not to speak about the elephant in the room? Not any current events. Actually, it is current events as well. But even more so, it's this week's parasha. This week's parasha is Parashat Korach. Parashat Korach is a parasha that deals specifically, particularly, with machloket, something that's very close to home for many of us, and that is not getting along with others. The truth is there are multiple meanings to the word machloket. It's dispute, argument, dissension, disagreement, strife, fighting, feud, conflict, but whatever you call it, it all has the same meaning in Hebrew. It's machloket. It's something that we should stay very far away from. It's something that the rabbis tell us is holding back the Mashiach, holding back Geula, and that's why we are still in Galut, because of machloket. Now, as we said, if you ever want to learn about the sin, the avirah of machloket, the first place you look will be this parasha. We all know that in this parasha, Korach was jealous of Abraham. He wanted more, even though they say he was the richest person ever. He got to carry the Aron. He was a Talmid Chacham. He had everything going for him, but he wanted a little bit more. He wanted to have something else. He wanted to have something better that he thought was better, even though we all know whatever Hashem gives us is exactly meant for us, but some people don't realize that, and they want more. And that's what he wanted. He wanted the Kohen garb. He wanted to be the guy in the Beit HaMikdash. And he said, Moshe, you're a liar. You're the one saying this. It's not from God. You're giving it to yourself. You're giving it to Aharon. What about us? And the Pasuk says in Parashat Korach, Perek Yud Zayin, Pasuk He, זיכרון לבני ישראל למען אשר לא יקרב איש זר אשר לא מזרע אהרון הוא להקטיר קטורת לפני אדוני ולא יהיה כקורח ובכעדתו כאשר דיבר אדוני ביד משה לו. And do not be like Korach, ועדתו, and his people, the ones on his side. Don't be like them and do what he did, do what they did. And the rabbis learned from there that actually from this pasuk we learn the averah, the sin of machloket. It's the most severe of all punishments. What do I mean? If a person is supposed to be chayav, to get killed from Beit Din, from the court on this earth, he has to be 13. If it's mitah b'dei shamayim, the heavenly court, he has to be 20. There is one averah that even infants die, children, babies, weaning off their mother, and that is machloket. We see this from Korach. When he got swallowed up, when the people got swallowed up, adato, the babies went with them. It's a very, very grave and serious topic to speak about, and hopefully we'll have some understanding in it a little bit more when we go through it. And just like we just said, machloket kills children. There's a famous story from the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim says there was two families in his city in Radin that were fighting with each other. They would fight with each other, and it was getting worse and worse and worse, and he goes to them and he says, you have to stop. They kept at it. their children started to die. He goes back, he says, your children are dying. He goes to one of them. When are you going to stop this? And the man says, I will bury my last child, but I'm going to win. I don't care what it takes. I will win this fight. And that's what a Baal machloket is. It doesn't make a difference if he shoots himself in the leg. He wants to win. He wants to be the courageous one, the winner, the person who gets up there and says, you see, I was right and this person was wrong. And so many times, machloket starts how? From things we don't even remember. We don't even know why we fought in the first place. Hushim ben Dan was Dan's son, who was a person that was deaf. He wasn't able to hear. And Hushim ben Dan was standing there with all of his uncles, all the Shivatim, waiting to bury his grandfather Yaakov Avinu. And as he's standing there, who comes? None other than Esav Arasha. And Esav says, you can't bury him there, it's mine. And the brothers start to say, hold on, it's not yours. It's ours. We have the deed to this. He says, show it to me. We left it in Mitzrayim. We forgot it in Egypt. So what do? What do? They send back Naphtali. Naphtali was extremely quick. He was like a deer. He would be the one to go back to Mitzrayim. And while he's running back to Mitzrayim, while all this is happening, Hushim ben Dan, the deaf person, he picks up his sword and he chops off the head of Esav. He kills him. He kills Esav Harasha. And as we know, the body fell down, the head rolls into the Marat HaMachpelah. And the rabbis ask, why was it Hushim ben Dan? Why was he the one to do this? Where was everyone else? Why weren't they doing anything? And the rabbis explain that Yaakov Avinu gave Shevet Dan the beracha of judgment. As we know, Shimshon came out of it, the shofet. Dan yadin amo ka'achat shiftei Yisrael. Dan will judge the people. And that's why he was the one to take out this judgment. But they still ask, come on. Okay, he's the one that's the judge. He's the one to do it. But what about everyone else? They can't be judges at that moment. They can't go and take the law into their own hands when they see their father, their own father, being desecrated and his body not being able to be buried by a Rasha. And Rav Henoch Leibowitz says an amazing answer. Rav Henoch Leibowitz explains, sometimes when people get into fights, they don't care or know what they are fighting about. They just know that I'm going to win. That's all that matters. It doesn't make a difference if it's because you didn't say hi to me, or because the invitation got lost in the mail, or because the door wasn't held open when I went into the store. Whatever it is, I'm going to win. I will prove I'm right. And that's why they're waiting for Naphtali. They didn't care about their father at that moment. It wasn't about the desecration of their father. It was about winning. We're going to go and show you the deed, and we're going to show you, we're going to shtach you, we're going to show you that we're the ones that are right and you're the ones that are wrong. But that's when Hushim ben Dan came, and Hushim said, I'm deaf, I can't hear anyway. I don't know what's going on. I see one thing. I see someone being desecrated, and I'm going to take action. And that's when he went and he killed Esav, which is a very, very important thing to understand. That when something goes from small to bigger, we don't realize what it was about in the first place. We just know that we're in a fight. We're in a fight, and that's how it has to be. The worst machloket that people can have, the worst fight, dispute imaginable, is a machloket based on religion. A machloket l'shem shamayim. What do I mean? Rav Yisrael Salanter says arguments are terrible. But what's the worst? When you have a machloket in the name of God, in the name of religion. Why? Because then you fight much, much harder. Then you don't give up for nothing. Why? Because it's not about you anymore. It's about something much greater than you. Much, much greater than you. And it's about Hashem. For that reason, you go to the ends of the earth to make sure it's right, even though you might be wrong. So when people get into fights over how can you eat this, it's not kosher, how can you pray in this shul, how can you do this, all these religious arguments, the best thing to do is always to leave for the rabbis. You leave for the great people who can deal and decide exactly what to do in certain situations. Don't put yourself in the fight of the great people. It's not for us. A few years back, I was in the Deal Kolil, Rabbi Diamond's Kolil, and I got a ride Motzei Shabbat from a cousin of mine, Rabbi David Elbaz. And I get a ride with him. It was Parashat Korach. And he told me, he asked me, he said, tell me a Dvar Torah. So I asked him a question that always bothered me. We all know that the man, the heavenly food from Shamayim, would fall at a person's doorstep. But if the person did Averot that night, he did Averot the morning before, the next morning the man falls further. And the more Averot he does, the further it goes. And I asked him, I said, Rabbi Deluya, when Korach saw that his man was getting further and further away, why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he think, what's the reason why? It must be I'm fighting with Moshe. I should stop fighting with Moshe. He said, do you have an answer? I told him, yeah. I believe the answer is that many times when people are in disputes, when people are in fights, when people are at necks with each other and bad things start to happen, they always blame it on something else. It can't be this. I must have done something else wrong. I must have done bitul Torah. I must have not treated my spouse the way I should have. I must have not walked the old lady across the street. You always put it something else. But this, no, this I'm right. Machloket, I'm right. This machloket, I'm the right one. And he tells me something amazing. He says he heard from Rav Steinman, or in the name of Rav Steinman, I don't remember. He said Rav Steinman had the same question. And Rav Steinman said it much, much better than me. He said when Korach saw that the man was getting further and further and further, Korach said it must be, I have to fight harder. The reason why the man's going further is because Hashem wants me to fight harder. Wow. Amazing. You have a person who's taking a machloket and he's making it into L'Shem Shamayim. So much so that he's saying, no, that's not the reason why. The reason why is exactly this. Because he wants me to fight harder. And then he went the next day and he fought harder. And then the man went further away. And then he's like, must be I have to fight harder. And he went against Moshe Rabbeinu even stronger. But that's how machloket goes. Gemara Sanhedrin says it starts like a little hole in a dam. And the water's trickling out. That's a machloket. And little by little, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You could have stopped it a long time ago. All of a sudden, the dam's broken. The city's flooded. There's no way out now. You can't stop it now. Now it's on its own. It's a ball of fire rolling. I heard, and we find this by everything. Many times we have protests in Eretz Yisrael. And during these protests, you have people who are saying Lashon Hara about different Rabbanim. You have people who are going and hitting other people, putting up signs about people, throwing rocks. And you wonder, do they have rabbis? Are they asking any Da'at Torah? Am I allowed to go and say Lashon Hara about this Gadol? Am I allowed to go throw a rock at this guy's head and put him in the hospital? But no, but it's L'Shem Shamayim. This is the way it's supposed to be. So whatever I get to that point, it doesn't make a difference. Those are the worst of all. I heard from Rabbi Spiro an amazing mashal. He said over from Rabbi Cheskel Makusman. He said there was a lion that woke up one morning and he thought that his breath smelled bad. So what does he do? He went over to the wolf and he says, Wolf, does my breath smell bad? The wolf takes a whiff, he smells it, and he says, my king, it smells terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. He goes, kills him on the spot, he eats him. Then he goes to a sheep, and the lion goes to the sheep and says, "Sheep, does my breath smell bad?" And the sheep saw what happened to the wolf, and the sheep says, my Your Highness, it smells like roses. It smells amazing. I've never smelled something better in my life. The lion knew that he was lying. He was patronizing him. Kills him on the spot. And then the lion, the king of all animals, the king of the jungle, walks over to the fox, and he says, "Fox, does my breath smell bad?" And the fox looks at the king, and he says, "Your Highness, I really wish I can tell you. I have a cold. I can't smell anything. I want to tell you if it's yes or no, but I can't." And this, Rabbi Cheskel Makusman says, this is machloket. You go on this side, you get hurt, you get killed. You go on this side, you get hurt, and you get killed. What do? You stay out of it. You don't get involved. This applies to everyone. You have a parent that got into a fight with a different family and he wants to get the kids involved. I'm not getting involved. You don't have to listen. It smells. There's a stench there. Don't begin with it, because then, like we said, it turns into that dam. But of course, many people are not like that. Many people are ma'avir al midotav. Many people are strong enough to go against this. They're strong enough to be people who are totally immune with themselves. They're at ease with themselves. They understand that what life is about, and they don't deal with it whatsoever. There's a story in Gemara Ta'anit. It says that Rabbi Eliezer, during a drought, went up and he said, "Avinu Malkeinu," and he said all the berachot, praying to God, bring down the rain, bring down the rain. Nothing. Sky's blue. Rabbi Akiva gets up there, he says Avinu Malkeinu once, he says it twice, all of a sudden it starts to rain and everyone starts snickering. And a bat kol came out, a heavenly voice says, it's not because Rabbi Eliezer is not as great as Rabbi Akiva. It's not because Rabbi Akiva is not greater than Rabbi Eliezer. Nothing to do with that. What's the reason? Because Rabbi Akiva is ma'avir al midotav. Because he's a person that gives up from himself. He doesn't look at himself like he's a gavra, that he's ga'ava, that I'm a haughty person. Who am I to do that? Who am I to do this? And I believe that's exactly the reason why. Because when a person acts within nisim, he is a miracle. He's a person that could go against his normal tendencies as a human and not fight back. If he's that person, if he can make a nest through himself, God makes a nest through him. If you can go against the nature of the world, I'm going to go against the nature of the world. There's a story that happened with the rabbi in Boca Raton, his grandfather-in-law, Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg. Rabbi Ephraim said over the story. His wife was in the Catskills, in the mountains with her father, and they see a different old man. And her father looks at the man, and he gives a nod, and then he walks away. And the daughter says, Daddy, Abba, who is this person? I've never seen this person before. And her father says, this person was my best friend before the war. When we were in Europe together before the Nazis, Yamach Shemam v'Zechram took over, we were best friends. We did everything together. So she said to them, what are you nodding at him? Give him a hug. Kiss him. He says, let me tell you what happened. He said, since he was my best friend, I told him a secret. I got visas for my wife and kids to get out of Europe, and he was the only person that knew where I kept them. I hid them in a spot no one could know, only him. The day came when I had to go on the boat with my wife and family. They were gone. And I knew it was only him that could have stolen them. And she says, but your wife died. Your kids, your whole family died. He's like, yes, I know. They all died. She's like, But that's because of him. What are you saying hi to him? You should scream at him. You should hit him. How can you even nod at him? So he says it was a different time then. During the war, people were very afraid. We didn't know if we were going to live or die. It was my fault. I put him in a situation that he can't handle. I put him in a situation that he couldn't beat. That is what it is to be ma'avir amidotav. That even in a case where somebody stole the visas and your family dies because of it, and you still have the civility to nod at the person, that's a great person. That's a person you get a beracha from. He didn't prolong the fight. He didn't make it into machloket. He stayed civil. He stayed cordial. Ma'avir amidotav, master over his traits. Rav Chaim Palachi brings down. He says that we have a tradition. Any family or group of people that get involved in machloket, that get involved with fighting, will not come out unpunished. Not possible. Just like Korach and the infants were punished. Everyone will have a piece of it. Everyone involved in it. He says, where there is machloket, if there's a place that there was a fight, he says, don't walk within 200 feet of that makom. It's tainted, it's contaminated, it's dirty. Don't even go there. That's what Rav Chaim Palachi brings down. If you look even at the word, the letters of machloket, you have a mem. Mem has a small opening. A fight starts off small. It's little. Then it turns to a het. It turns a little bit bigger. Then it's a lamed. It's going to different directions. It's going up now. Then there's a kof. It goes down to the kids. And after, it's a taf. Now it has two legs. It has what to hold on to. Now it's a strong fight. After it was small to bigger, to the kids, to up there, to the parent, everyone's involved now. Now it has basis. Now to go and take yourself out of that is much, much more difficult. And what's interesting about machloket is that we think the reason they're arguing is a good reason. Well, yeah, he did this. Look at Korach. Well, why didn't he give anything to anyone else? Why is he taking everything for himself? They legitimize the machloket. They make it into something real. Well, he shouldn't have done that. That was such a terrible, terrible thing. She shouldn't have done that. And they have to legitimize the machloket so much so that if you ask them the real reason behind it, they would never tell you because they sound too stupid. It doesn't sound smart. If Korach said the reason why I'm fighting with Moshe Rabbeinu, you want to know why? Because I want to be a Kohen. I'm jealous. I want the nice clothing. I want the hat. I want people to stand up for me. Whatever the reason is. He can't say that, so he has to make it into a Melchemet Shel Torah. It has to be something more. No, that's not what it is. But when you dig deep into it, all the way to the bottom, and you realize the real reason why. There's a story of two men who came to the rabbi, and they were fighting over a field. And the rabbi listens to this one if it's his field, and he listens to this one if it's his field. And then the rabbi says, 1 second. He gets on his knees, he puts his ear to the floor, and he gets up. And they say, what happened? What are you going on the floor for? He says, the ground told me something. Today you both fight, but in the end, I'm going to swallow you both up. It's all mine. And the rabbi was teaching these people a lesson. That you're fighting over things that in a day, in a week, in a year, even in a lifetime, it won't matter. It won't make a difference. Because at the end, we all go to the same place. We all have din v'cheshbon. We all have what to work on, and we have what to be judged on. The first night of Pesach and Tisha B'Av that's coming up very soon always falls out on the same day. What do I mean? Let's say the first night of Pesach is a Monday. Tisha B'Av will always be a Monday. If you ever want to know what day it is of Tisha B'Av, just remember what the first day of Pesach is. Now the rabbis say it's no coincidence. There is no coincidence that these 2 days are always the same. What's the reason why? And they explain, why did Mitzrayim happen in the first place? What made them go down to Mitzrayim? Because they sold their brother into exile. Because they took their brother through their machloket, through their fighting, through their jealousy, and they sold him. And that's why we take the karpas and we put it into the salt water. It's like remembering the ketonet pasim, the special garb that Yaakov Avinu gave his son Yosef, that they took and they put it into the blood to make believe he was dead. So that's what we do. We're commemorating that act. So what's the reason? The reason why is because we are reminded that the same reason that we have Pesach is the reason why Tisha B'Av will be happening this year. That's because of machloket. The same reason that we're still sitting here crying for the Beit HaMikdash is because of what happened with Yosef, and which is right now in our genes, the problem of dispute, of fighting. They're connected. And this is what unity means. The Gemara says at the end of Makot that all the tzaddikim will be in a circle and they're all going to point at Hashem in Olam Haba. That's what we're going to do. That's what they're going to do. Is it Hashem? They're all going to point at Hashem. And I heard a beautiful question and an answer from Rabbi David Kaplan. He said, why are they in a circle? Why does the Gemara pick a circle? Why does Hashem make us go in a circle? Why can't it be a square, a rectangle, an octagon? Well, whatever you want to make it into. Why a circle? And he explains that if you go to an Ashkenaz person and you say, do you respect Sfaradim? They'll say, of course. What about their minhagim and halachot? Yeah, the machaber, maran, the minhagim, of course, from thousands of years. But at the end, when you ask him seriously, he'll say, yeah, no, of course I respect them, but I know I'm right. We're better. We're more right. And the same thing, you go to the Hasidim, and you say, Ashkenazim, you respect them? Yeah, of course we respect them. They have great Gedolim, they always had, they have that. But we're right. So he explains the reason why everyone's in a circle is because everyone's going to be eye to eye with each other. There's no one closer than the other. Everyone's going to realize that it's not about who's closer. It's not about who's more right. It's not. Everyone's the same. We're all in that circle pointing at Hashem. So how can you get over machloket, over different things that have to deal with religion or with, of course, religiosity, and with any other item that has to do with the sects in Judaism? And of course, even if you don't agree with things that happen, like we said, you leave it to the Gedolim. But the person himself, you have to respect. You have to respect the person. It doesn't matter who it is. Rav Simcha Wasserman was once by a convention of rabbis. And in the convention was a Reformed rabbi. And they were saying in the convention how every sect in Judaism is a different part and it's all needed. And this Reformed rabbi goes up to Rav Simcha Wasserman and he says, what are we? Right, you have an army. So you have an army, you have the Navy, you have the Marines, you have the Green Berets, you have the pilots, the Air Force. Which one are we? Because it's all needed. You can't have an army without every part of it. So he says, there's always deserters. You're the deserters. And it's true. They are the deserters. They took the Torah and they totally ripped it apart. But that doesn't take away the fact that if they have a flat tire down the road, you don't take your machloket or your ideologies and you don't deal with the person as a person. You're still a person. And the same thing with goyim. Rabbi Diamond always says, you love the man, hate the sin. What does it mean that you have to go and love people? But then it says you have to hate the person that's at Asha. No, you don't hate him. Nobody hates each other. You hate what he does. And I saw the same thing with the Balatanya. He brings that down. Every Friday night there's a minhag to give blessings to our children. And the blessing that we give for the boys, Yisimecha Elohim ke'Ephraim v'chimnashe. Why then? Why don't we say, Hashem, you should make my children like Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David, Shlomo, anyone. You could choose anyone. Why them too? And I heard a wonderful answer once, and that is, throughout history, the only two brothers that did not fight were these two. Go through it. Cain and Hevel, Ishmael and Yitzchak, Yaakov and Esav, Yosef and his brothers. The only time we had two brothers, two members of the Jewish nation who actually loved each other was brothers too. So every week we give a beracha. You should be like Ephraim and Asher, that you should get along with everyone you meet, especially siblings, especially family. It gets very difficult sometimes. I would say 2 months ago, I was by a wedding where the Chatan wasn't on good terms with his parents. And I was by the Shiva Barachot the next day. And I said, did it all work out? And he tells me that he went to go into his parents' gated community here in Florida. And when you go into the gated community, you have the guard over there, and he says, okay, what's your name? And then he calls you in. And he says his name. He said, where are you going? To your parents' house. Okay. And then he looks at the sign, and the sign says, everyone is allowed to come besides for this person, this name, and that was their own child. Imagine parents not talking to children. A father not talking to a son who just got married, and you put him on a list like he's some type of terrorist. It's the worst thing in the world. And we're not saying everyone's perfect. There's what to work on in every person. That's why we're here. We're still here because we have what to work on. But to take away a machloket, to take away a fight, it can be very, very difficult, but it's something that needs to be done, but it has to be done also by both parties. It can't be done by one party. It'll never work. A relationship is as strong as the one who wants it least. I'm going to say personally, because the person's probably never going to watch this anyway, but even by me, there's a person who doesn't talk to me. A person who doesn't talk to me. Now, the reason why doesn't make a difference. But whatever was done because the person's rabbi told me to do it. It was asked to Gedolim after. And at the end, the person got angry and said, I'm not going to talk to you. Now, it's very hard now to make such a relationship when the person wants to have nothing to do with the person. But, v'yitem nikiyim. You got to be straightforward. You got to say what's on your mind. You got to say what's right. I remember when it happened a couple years back now, and I asked Rabbi Mansour, I said, what do you do if you do something that's correct? You can't tell the person the real reason why you did it, because then it can blow out of proportion, but you had to do something because that's what the Gedolim said to do. That's what the rabbi said to do. That's what this person's rabbi said to do. He says, are you a rabbi? I said, yes. He says, I understand. You want people to like you. I say, yeah, kind of. I guess so. He says, sell ice cream. They're going to like you if you sell ice cream. Because in this job, many times you have to step on people's feet, and it hurts. And that's what you have to do. Well, I said, well, this wasn't really a rabbi type of thing. He says, well, if you got psak from Gedolim, from rabbis to do such a thing, then it's totally correct, and that's what should be done. But that's what you have to do in a machloket. You have to minimize it as much as possible. You have to take it away. You have to get people involved that can take sides and understand both sides and try to patch it up. But at the end of the day, if you do something that's correct, you have to be strong about it. You don't get chalishas hadas. You don't become weak. The most famous arguments and disputes and conflicts are by man and wife. Man and wife have the most conflicts and arguments of everyone else. And there's so many rabbis and books and non-Jewish books and psychologists that all deal with these different concepts, how a woman works, how a man works, even though they're trying to change that now, but how a woman works, we're different people, and you have to understand how to deal with them, and how a man works and how she has to deal with him, and they both have to be b'chokhmah in whatever they do. But at the end of the day, the most important thing that happens is to take away the machloket between them. We know Shabbat Kodesh, if you have Ner Shel Shabbat and you have Ner Shel Chanukah, you could only buy one. Which one do you buy? You buy Ner Shel Shabbat. Even though you don't need it, really, you could have lights. But nowadays they say do lights. But you get my point. You take the Ner Shel Shabbat, you do it. Why? Because that's Shalom Bayit. That's the woman's mitzvah. That's what she does. She needs the light to show during the meal. And Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky actually goes even more. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says an amazing thing. He says, do you light the Hanukkah menorah on time without your wife, or do you wait till the night with your wife? And he says, you wait. You wait for your wife. Why? He says, because if we see how important Shalom Bayit is, that even the Nerot of Shabbat are stronger than the Nerot of Menorah, then for sure the Nerot of Menorah themselves, you should wait. And that's what he paskins. He paskins, you wait. You don't get into something over it. She wants to see the candles also. She wants to be part of the mitzvah. There is a beautiful midrash, and it's brought down also in Yerushalmi Sotah. And that is, there's a woman that used to always go to Rabbi Meir's shiur. She would always go to the class of Reb Meir. Every Friday night, she goes to the class, and this time, he went a little bit overboard, too far, extra couple of minutes. She comes home late, and she sees that her husband is not happy. The Nerot Shabbat were already extinguished, and he was very, very angry at her. And he says, she says, where were you? She says, I was by the shiur, it went overtime. And she says, Lo havi iteta alelad lahacha adzman dehi azlare kekaba apoy didrosha. He says, you shall not come in here until you go back and you spit in the eye of Rabbi Meir. I don't want to see you anymore. Go spit in his eye. She didn't know what to do. She left. She goes to the shiur. He had some type of siyata dishmaya. He felt it. He knew the story would happen. And he says, I want to let everyone know I have a certain eye ailment. I have a problem with my eye. And the only way for me to be healed from it is if someone spits in my eye. Excuse me, ma'am, would you like to spit in my eye? And she says, yes, I would love to spit in my eye. What are the odds? Coincidence. She gets up and she spits in the eye. He says again, she spits 7 times in his eye. And the bachurim, the boys, his students, they say, what kind of crazy thing is this? What are you letting her spit in your eye for, Rabbi? And he tells her the story. He tells them the story, and they say, then let's just go beat up the husband to be matir neder, take away the oath. He said, if Hashem is willing to take off his name to take away machloket by a sotah, where Hashem's name is erased to see if she was faithful or not, I can get my eyes spit in. Because the most important thing is to take away machloket, to take away this problem. And it's better late than never. That's the truth. A lot of people, they go on the deathbed of a parent, of a child, and they make it. They make up at that moment, and then the person passes away a couple of days later. But a lot of people don't make it to that, and then they regret it forever. Why was I like that? Why didn't I just, be subservient for those few moments. It's such an important thing that you're allowed to lie for it. We know that there were Aharon HaKohen, whenever he wanted to make shalom, peace between man and his fellow man, he would lie to each of them. And he would say, he wants to talk to you, he really feels bad, he wants to talk to you. They would go to each other and they would hug each other. Where did he get that from? He didn't make it up himself. He got it from Hashem. Hashem, when Sarah said, my husband is old, how can I have a child? Hashem switched it, and Hashem told Avraham Avinu, your wife said that she's old. And it's not considered a lie. Because for shalom, it's not a lie. It's actually it's lumdish. It's not that he lied and lying is okay. It's not considered a lie. Rabbi Dessler has a whole piece on exactly that. And Rabbi Miller brings down, he says the story of a woman who passes away. The Chevra Kadisha come into the house and they're ready to take the body. And the husband walks over and says, guys, I know the funeral is going to be tomorrow morning. Can I just have her till 6 a.m.? You'll pick her up at 6. They say, yeah. But why? And he says, because my whole life I was always too busy for my wife. I came home, I read the paper. I didn't talk to her much, even though many times she wanted to talk to me. And now that she's gone, I realize what I've lost. He went into the room, he held her hand, and spoke to her until 6 a.m. But it was too late. She was gone. You can't make up time. You can't take back time. That's why it's incumbent on everyone to start from now. To cherish the moments that you have the people around. To take away the bitter disputes between people. Because at the end, it's all the same. It's a powerful message, Rabbi Miller was saying. And it doesn't make a difference where you come from, how great you are. Even the most honorable, greatest people, they bent their heads down and they did exactly that. Moshe Rabbeinu. He was a person to forgo his honor. And he went to Korach to diffuse the machloket. He said, please stop fighting. Just understand it. It's not me. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, who could have done anything, he could have said, you know what, the heck with him. I don't care. I know I'm right. Hashem spoke to me. He'll see. He's going to get what's coming to him. But he didn't do that. The Gemara in Gittin brings down Anuntet Amud Bet. It brings down 18 enactments, gezerot, that the rabbis made. That you have to give the non-Jews money. And you have to help them with things that they need and the city things, and it goes through all these 18 things. And why? And the Gemara says because of shalom, to take away machloket, to take animosity away. It doesn't make a difference for your Jew or for your goy. And Mishle, the third perek, it says, peace is so great, shalom is so great that the entire Torah was given to bring peace into the world. The Torah was given to us just for peace, just for shalom. And I was thinking something, I hope it's emet, but if you look at the Pesukim in Parashat Vayechi, when Yaakov Avinu calls over his children and says, come, I want to tell you what's going to happen. When is the Geulah going to happen? When is Galut going to be over? And we all know he forgot when it was. He lost his Nivuah. But I believe the Torah was teaching us something. Because it used the word he'asefu, gather. Come gather. Why would gather? Unite. Why is he using such a word? It could say so many different lishonot. Why use hasafu to unite? And I believe the Torah was saying, I'm not going to tell you when it's going to happen, but I'm going to tell you how it happens. It happens when the Jews unite together. He'asifu. If you're united, then you'll know Baharit Hayamim. You'll know when the day will come. So much more so now when we see so many rifts in Judaism, so many different types of people who can't agree, who can't fagin, as they say in Yiddish, who can't understand each other. But the Torah is telling you right now, Ha'asifu, come, unite, be together. That's when Mashiach will come. There is an amazing Kaf HaChaim Palachi. If I could find it. Kaf HaChaim Palachi says in Siman Chav Zayin עוד למ"ה כתב הרב מורה באצבע עוד קמ"ם וזה לשונו ועלות מנחה בערב שבת. When mincha comes ערב שבת הוא עת מסוכן למחלוקת. It's a very terrible time for arguments, for machloket בין איש לאשתו, between man and his wife. When it's mincha time, the kids are running around, you gotta light the candles, things aren't ready, we gotta take a shower, everything is happening. That's the time when there's many disputes. Uben HaMisharetim are the people who live there, who work there. And very much does the Yetzer Hara try to make that fight there. A person who's smart, who's fearing, he should go and he should take this Yetzer Hara, he should break him. He shouldn't let him get into it. He should be a person that sees the future, what can happen during those hours, and he should be very good about it, very easygoing about it. And the same thing with his wife. He shouldn't be makbid. He shouldn't say, why isn't this ready? What's going on over here? Why aren't you doing this? And then she says, well, you were in work all day, and then it goes back and forth. It should be a time for peace. Ad kan devarav. And Chaim Palachi says, I'm going to say more on top of the Moreh Be'etzbah. Da'ani hagever ra'oni. He says, I have seen with my own eyes any family, any person that had machloket Erev Shabbat or the night of Shabbat, haya baduk u'menuseh. It's baduk u'menuseh. Ki ra'a neged penehem. Velo yotz'u nikim bo'oto shavua be'ezeh mikre ra. Amazing, the most amazing words. I am telling you now, he says, that week, something bad will befall them. A person during the times of Erev Shabbat and Shabbat that have machloket, that have arguments, times where they can be much easier on each other, where they have to understand that it's a time that's very hectic. If they're not, and there's no shalom, bad will befall them that week. Baduk u'menuseh. Baduk u'menuseh. It's cause and effect. It's not. He's not cursing them. He's saying this is what's going to happen. I've seen it. It's checked. There's a story that I heard over from Rabbi Shapiro. He said over, a woman gets a call from a police officer. And the policeman says, your car was totaled. It's a miracle she's alive. Her and her two friends. She says, what happened? The story is black ice. Black ice, going on the road, black ice. And the car slid on it, and it went into the only 10 feet where there is cement, as opposed to every other spot that it could have went, and it would have fell down a hill and they all would have been dead. It's a miracle, it's a nis. And the woman's thinking, that day she had a dream. Her mother comes to her in a dream, and she's looking holy, she's shining, she's wearing white, and she starts to cry. And she says, the person that she is in a fight with, this woman that you are in a fight with, you should make up. you shouldn't prolong this fight. And the woman who's sleeping, she doesn't know what to make of it. She says, what? She wakes up. The same thing again. She says, go and call so-and-so. This was on her Shabbat nap. She says, okay, Mom, I'll do it. And I'll call her. And she sees her mother dressed in white. Her crying goes away, and now she's smiling. She says, thank you. She wakes up from her nap. She prays, she eats, Shabbat is done. She picks up the phone and she says a perek of Tehillim. She calls up the woman that she was in a fight with. And after a prolonged fight, many, many fights, many years maybe, they make up. They make up, and since it was a time that meant so much to her, that she became friends with a person that she was in a fight with for so many years, she happened to look at her watch. And she sees the time was 8:28. The police officer calls from the hospital saying your daughter's alive, it's a miracle. And she asks the police officer, what time did the accident happen? Exactly 8:28. Now, if that's not teaching us a message, I don't know what can teach us a message. Exactly 8:28. Sometimes we think we're saving the other person. We're doing something for someone else, but really it's for ourselves. We're doing what's right for ourselves. She saved her daughter. This woman saved her own daughter by making shalom, because shalom brings peace. Shalom is peace. Shalom brings life. The Paleo Etz brings down Yadua. It's known kama sanui machloket, how much machloket is hated, like the rabbis teach us. So we have to stay so far away from it. It doesn't make a difference if we were hurt through our bodies, our money, our honor. We should be mina ne'elavim ve'enam olvim. We should be ma'avila midotav. We should be people who are stronger than our inclination, than our nature. We should listen to shomim cherpatam ve'enim meshivim. We can listen to things that we do wrong and we don't answer back. And the Paleo Etz says in the third paragraph of machloket, V'im rabba ra'at machloket ki yanatzu anashim yachtav. Machloket is so bad when it's men together. Alachat kama v'kama ra'a kefula mechupelet ki yerev ben ish l'ishto, for sure between a man and his wife. V'yadua kama shoktu chachamim v'kama takanot asu mitach shalom. So many things were made for darkei shalom. A paprat b'nei shalom bayit. And he says, therefore, in such a thing like Shalom Bayit, which trickles down to parents, to children, to siblings, to neighbors, to cousins, to communities, to the world, it's such an important thing to get out of our system and to understand. What are we anyway? Where are we going to end up? If we understand where we're ending up, then nothing in between that matters. Everything we think is important. Well, he did this or she did that, or this person shouldn't have said this, or this person should have done this. It doesn't make a difference, because it's all about being Mekadesh Shem Shamayim, and if this is what makes Hashem happy, that's all that matters. That's all there is. And I want to conclude with the Mishnah in Oksin. The last Mishnah in Oksin says, famous words that we all know. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Halafta, Lo matzah hakadosh baruch hu kli machzik beracha liyisrael ela shalom. God did not find, or God only found one thing that can attain beracha. One thing that can hold it. That you can put it in a vessel, that it's powerful. And that is shalom. It's the only thing that matters. Shene'emar, well, as we said before, He'asefu v'agid elachem. Mashiach will come when everyone's unified. The Torah is teaching us that. Like the rabbis tell us that it's all about shalom. It's taken away from machloket. Like we know that Hashem can, so to speak, change the truth for shalom. And so did Aaron HaKohen. That we see from the person who saved her own daughter, like we see from Rav Chaim Palachi, that nobody becomes, everyone becomes tainted from it. Like we know from the mashal about the fox that you have to stay out of it. Like we know and we see from Korach, who was swallowed up, and even the infants were killed because of it. As the Mishnah ends, Shene'emar Adonai oz la'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Hashem gives strength to His nation, la'amo. Hashem blesses His nation, b'shalom, b'shalom, with peace. Shabbat shalom, and thank you guys.